This program is brought to you in part by SalCal Real Estate Connections. And yes, welcome to the 2021 Cars and Coffee at the Klingberg Auto Center. And yeah, this Stevens Duryea is the first car we're going to take a look at. And unfortunately, due to COVID restrictions, we cannot make the event as normal, interviewing people, but we're going to give you the best show we can. Just hold on, you're going to see some wonderful cars. Well, this is something different. He's playing music there on the side of his car like I have never seen before. But you know what? When you come to these shows, you just never know what you're going to see. Yes, of course, this Model T Ford was just an absolute wonderful example of a Model T in the day. This touring car was just beautiful. And yes, it's kind of we're a little down today because we were not unable to attend the event and talk to people like we normally do due to some restrictions, but didn't stop us to taking some wonderful images of these beautiful cars. And this Model T is a great example of that. In the day, hard to believe how many of these Model Ts were made and how popular they were. Another interesting car that you don't see too often is this Rio. And boy, let me tell you, it was a great example, as you could see. I mean, we go to many car shows, but very seldom do you come across a Rio. They are very rare, and this car was just absolutely gorgeous. I mean, the colors and everything about it was just special. And yes, at the Klingberg show, you do see just about everything you could imagine to see. Just a great event. And yes, this Model T hack giving people a little tour of the facility. It was just a great sight and beautiful example of what existed in the day. Another great example we came across at the show was this Stutz Bearcat car, and believe me, this car was just another great example of something you just don't see every day. They are very, very sought after cars, and whoever did the work on this car, believe me, did an excellent job. And it's always great to see them, to see this Stutz Speedster. It was just absolutely stunning, as you could see. Is the color too. It was just bright and everything matched perfectly. And we're going to get a shot of the interior here coming up in a little bit, and you'll see what I mean when it comes to workmanship and craftsmanship. It's here, without a doubt. This Stutz was a beautiful car. Another favorite car of mine, a Morgan, which to this day are still hand built in the UK, And this was another great example of what you'll see, you know, when it comes to this show. Morgans are very popular, and vintage racers just love them. And I'll tell you, they perform well on the racetrack and are sought after for the hand-built construction. You know, where do you find that? And believe me, they're very getting tough to find. But you can still buy new ones, actually. It's hard to believe. Of course, no show would be complete without seeing a two-seat Thunderbird. And boy, let me tell you, this car here is just a great example with the Continental kit. And another thing that I find very interesting is the Ford people who collect these cars call this color Campbell tomato soup red, as it's got a little different tone to it. It's like a little off color red, but let me tell you, it's a fan favorite when it comes to people who collect these cars, and they are special. And I love to have one of these cars. I'll tell you, I just love to park this car right in my garage. As you could see, it was just a beautiful example of what they sold in the day. 55, 56, and 57. Actual sought after wonderful cars. Another great example we came across was this Pontiac four-door sedan, which in reality, I'm not sure the model of this Pontiac, but I don't see very many of them like it. This has to be a very rare car. I would say it's late 40s, so we weren't sure of the year, and it was just an absolutely stunning restoration of the car. I mean, just look at it. Absolutely perfect. All the work that was done, and I'm just amazed by the kind of the fastback style of the back of the car. I mean, in the late 40s, I mean, this had to be kind of a up to date car or what you could get in the day. And boy, let me tell you, it was pretty. I have to say, one of the most unusual vehicles we came across was this Model A, I believe it's a Model A Woody. I mean, this was kind of different. I been around a long time with old cars, and I have not seen anything like this. This has to be very rare, or it's a custom made one off. Could be that too, but believe me, it was different. I have to say, yeah, look at that old antique marker plate. It's just special, I tell you. You see it all here at Klingberg, and another great example. And yes, our friends from the New England Auto Museum were on hand with their absolutely gorgeous 40 Ford panel truck. And believe me, talk about a rare vehicle. I don't know how many of these are made, but there ain't many that will exist today, as you could see. And yes, this Ford with that V8 emblem tells you That flathead was just special, and I'm hoping that their museum is underway and waiting to get word, when we can start advertising, going to see all what's going to happen there. And believe me, they're working very hard to get it to happen. I want to wish them all the luck in the world and hope we get to see you soon. Well, here's a change of pace. A Chevrolet Biscayne two-door sedan. I believe it's a 1960 Chevrolet. And I'll tell you though, with this gray paint job, was really a pretty car. And somebody had done a lot of nice work to this car. As you don't see many of these still around either. Very different, I have to say. End of the day, these cars are very sought after, and yeah, you're looking for that special flags from Chevrolet telling you it was a 348, but in this case, I believe it's a small block type motor and nice car. And yes, the engine compartment was very clean, and yeah, that dual cylinder, master cylinder, I'm sure is up to date to today's standards. And the car was great. I'll tell you, nice looking car. And yes, the Klingberg Family Center, a trailer here advertising their restoration program. And yes, Rebuilding the Lives has got it right and absolutely wonderful to see. And yes, one of Ralph Nader's favorite cars. This Corvair was very special as it was a Monza Spider, and I believe it's got a turbocharged engine, and the condition of this car is absolutely beautiful. I'm telling you, wait till you see this car up close and personal. It is just gorgeous. And I'm sure you just don't find them every day as they're getting harder and harder to find. And and yes, now we're gonna look at the engine in this car, and yet there's that turbocharger, Spider. Very interesting. Look at all the piping and everything else that go along with this car. But boy, let me tell you, they did a beautiful job, as you will not see these cars very often, and the condition of this car is special, without a doubt. Like I said, only at Klingberg will you see this quality car. Just absolutely a wonderful event. And yes, a military Jeep going back to the real old flathead days. And boy, look at it. It's got the shovels and everything else to go with it. It was just a great example of what a military Jeep was all about. And yeah, that's their famous motor there, that flathead motor. I'll tell you, these things here, you couldn't kill them no matter what you did. And yeah, D-Day, oh boy. I'm sure they have fun with this vehicle in parades and different events, and it was just a great example of what a military Jeep was. And here we go again, the Chevrolet. Looks like a dump truck, 4100 series back in the day. Yep, I'm sure that's a custom made body, but boy, let me tell you, somebody did some real heavy duty work here This thing here looks like just drove it off the showroom floor. And believe you just never know what you're gonna see here. I mean, every time we come here, we see something different, and this truck is a great example of that. A Chevrolet dump truck. Back in the day, looks like very early 50s. Well, another interesting vehicle in an Evora GT. And boy, look at this car. Kind of a wild looking car. I'm not even sure if that's what make it is. They said model is Evora GT. And yes, there's a change of pace. A vintage modified stock car. Looks just like in the day they used to race something like this at Plainville Stadium. And boy, let me tell you, these cars are starting to get very popular, and as vintage racing is becoming a big deal. Of course, race cars are our deal, and this Fiat Arbath race car caught our attention. And as you could see, they're very pretty little car and very rare. You don't see many of them. And yes, how about this early vintage Ford race car? Beautiful, I'll tell you. Great example of what was done in the day in the early 30s. Beautiful car. Ooh, we got a beautiful Oldsmobile going by right now. And yes, here's a Pontiac GTO in the 70s. Beautiful car. Just looks like in the day, and yeah, one of my favorite cars. An early 50s Mercury. Beautiful car. Let me tell you, I just loved owning one of these again. Yes, as people are leaving the event, we're getting a glimpse at different cars. And yeah, this Chevrolet or GMC panel truck was special. Let me tell you. When do you see these cars? Just a beautiful example. And yes, as things start winding down here, the cars are leaving. As you could see, there was a great array of different cars. There's that T-Bird I just absolutely loved. And it looks like a Corvette coming now. I mean, you name it, it was here. I have to tell you, they do an absolutely wonderful job here at Klingberg. And look at this beautiful car. It looks like a Packard. Just absolutely gorgeous. You know, another vehicle really getting attention lately is these Chevrolet pickup trucks. I tell you, they're getting very popular. And of course, yeah, that 60s Mustang, I don't even have to tell you the following those cars have. But when you come to this Klingberg event, these cars and coffee are really special, and you meet the greatest people. I have to give Mark Johnson all the credit for putting these together, and they're always just wonderful events. As you could see, people really had a great time here. As more cars leave the event, it's an absolutely beautiful Buick. Look at that car. I'm telling you, this show has it all. Yeah, there is another Model T, which is always a favorite car of mine. I don't have to tell you that. Those cars are very special. Look at the size of this car. It looks like a big Packer or a Pierce Darrow. I think it's huge. Beautiful car. Yeah, getting their wares. Some of these cars are just so special, I'll tell you. Thank you for coming. And yes, as more cars leave the event, we're getting a glimpse at some of these interesting cars we talked about today. Yeah, look at that car. Wow, just gorgeous, I'll tell you. No matter what you look at here today, they were beautiful. That Pontiac four-door Sedan was just like a brand new car. And this Stutz was very rare. I tell you, you don't see a Stutz Speedster often. Not in the condition this one's in. As you could see, just another beautiful example of a car from that period of time. And also had a chance to visit with some of the Model T people. Have a great car here. Just very, very well done. And I have to give everybody a lot of credit for putting these cars together. It was always just a wonderful thing to see them in person. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Here's a rare occasion. An international scout. When's the last time you saw one of these? Look at the condition of it. Man, I have to tell you that seeing these vintage modified stock cars is really a treat, and they're getting more and more popular as we go to the Plainville Stadium reunion every year, and more cars are appearing, and it looks like it's going to be something big in the future. Absolutely. The show comes to an end. I want to thank the Klingberg Family Centers for the show they put on, just absolutely wonderful. And I have to commend all the people involved. And Mark Johnson, you are the man, without a doubt. Please return next week to Racing Action Today. This program is brought to you in part by R2 Pictures and real estate broker Larry Mangello. We want to thank our ace cameraman, Bill Majak, for all his great work, and Nutmeg TV for all their great support and what they do.